Boys, go, we're bound for the unknown. Out of the water, no one can stop her, Captain of the Jolly Otter.
Welcome to the adventures of the Jolly Otter. Chapter 6, Finding Your Porpoise. She was worried. She was frightened for her crew, unaware that the crocodile was on his way to steal back the ship he'd lost to Camilla in Mr. Pig's tavern. She'd never forgive herself if anything happened to them, but more than angry, and she was very angry, more than worried, and she was terribly worried, Camilla was determined. She was determined to find her way out of that barrel, save her crew, stop the crooked crocodile's plot to steal her ship, and give that weaselly stoat weasel what he deserved for taking advantage of her. Camilla's journey began in a barrel. Her journey would not end in one. The first of these tasks, however, the success upon which the rest of her plan depended, proved more difficult than she'd hoped. She climbed up the inside of the barrel, but the lid was stuck on tight. She pushed against the inside. Perhaps if she rocked back and forth enough, she could tip it over on its side and roll the barrel, but it wouldn't budge. She couldn't outwit the barrel, like she had the crooked crocodile. She couldn't help the barrel find its purpose, like she had with her crew. And she couldn't try to reason with the barrel, and subsequently fire the barrel out of a cannon when the barrel proved to be a hateful, unreasonable old snob, as she had with Bartholomew the tortoise. But even though she did not, could not, would not give up, Camilla could not fight forever. After trying desperately to escape for what felt like hours, the otter finally succumbed to exhaustion and fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. But not before vowing that when, not if, she got out of there, she'd make sure to find that scheming little stoat named Weasel and pop him right in the face. The next thing she knew, she was jolted awake by the sound of wood splintering above her head. She opened her eyes and saw a giant, furry hand reaching into the barrel and scooping her up. The hand was attached to a giant ox with one broken horn, wearing a navy blue jacket with a dozen silver buttons on it. It was Pierre Derriere, chief constable of Santo Flamingo, who explained to Camilla that they had received an anonymous tip that she was trapped here in this shack. Camilla was about to thank Pierre for helping her out of the barrel when she realized it was daylight. In a frenzy, she explained to the constable as quickly as she could the events that led up to her capture, her search for a paying job, Weasel the stoat's betrayal, and the return of the crooked crocodile. Pierre listened to the otter's story with about the same attention and enthusiasm as one might expect from a cow. When Camilla was done, he calmly explained that the Jolly Otter left port early that morning, and that neither he nor anyone else in Santo Flamingo knew where it was sailing to. Camilla pressed him to help her track it down, but Pierre refused. He was chief constable of Santo Flamingo, not the open ocean, and would not leave his town unguarded, certainly not to help one pirate track down another. Camilla was irate. "That no-good crocodile has my friends!" she exclaimed. Pierre was unmoved. "They're pirates," he snorted. And that was that. Camilla stormed out of the shack and marched back towards the docks, leaving Pierre and his hatred of pirates behind. She'd hit a snag with that whole barrel incident, but surely that would be the hardest part of her mission. After all, how hard could it be to find a pirate ship in the middle of the ocean, without a ship to chase after it, or a crew to man it, or the weapons to fight? And the only person she knew that could help her find those things was the very same person that put her in her current predicament. It was that very same person that Camilla found sitting on the unoccupied dock where her ship should have been floating. She knew him by his hat and the tiny nub of a pencil tucked behind his ear. It was Weasel, that son of a stoat. Camilla marched right up to where he sat. "Give me one good reason why I shouldn't pop you right in the face," she shouted. Weasel didn't even look up at her. Instead, he just looked out across the water, listening to the waves lap against the dock. "Because," he said softly, "I'm the guy that told the cops you were stuck in that barrel." Camilla was dumbfounded. Weasel was the anonymous tip? Why would he save her after it was his duplicitous deception that landed her in that barrel in the first place? Weasel sensed her question. Or, Camilla would think later, perhaps it was the weight of guilt that made him say what he said next. Weasel, as it turned out, was a former member of the Crooked Crocodile's crew. But unlike the Croc's other officers, Weasel had no stomach for the violence and cruelty of his captain. Weasel's passion was in words. He loved to talk his way out of trouble. He loved to cut deals and make connections. Aboard the Crooked Crocodile's ship, however, his talents were most often used to save lives. When they came upon an unsuspecting ship, Weasel could negotiate their surrender by describing the atrocities that would befall them should they try to resist, so they wouldn't have to experience them firsthand. Unfortunately, as is often the case with those who do not love words as much as they love violence, the Crooked Crocodile and his officers grew tired of the weak and tiny stoat and kicked him off the ship. "When you showed up wearing the crocodile's hat," Weasel explained, "I figured if I handed you over he would let me back onto the crew," he sighed. "But he left me here, him and the uncivilized, unwashed imbeciles he calls officers." Camilla was still furious with Weasel, but for the moment the urge to wring his little neck for landing her in a barrel had faded. Somewhat. She had to ask, "Why would you ever want to get back with someone who treated you like that?" "Because," Weasel said softly, "I don't got anybody else." Camilla sat down beside him, their little legs dangling off the side of the dock. They sat for a moment in silence. Finally, Camilla asked, in a much kinder, gentler voice than before, "Is that the kind of pirate you want to be? Answering to a brute like the Crooked Crocodile? Hurting people?" Weasel was unmoved. "Pirates lie. Pirates cheat. Pirates steal," the stoat reminded her. "That's the kind of no-good scoundrel you chose to associate with when you chose to be a pirate." "Some pirates steal," Camilla allowed. "And lots of pirates cheat. And everybody lies once in a while. But pirates do other things. They play games. They sing shanties. They make maps and paint on cannons and cook shrimps. But above all else," she said, "they stick up for their friends, and they fight for what they believe in. And they do what's right." Weasel stared at Camilla with the uttermost confusion. "That doesn't sound like any pirate I've ever met," he said. Camilla stood up. "Well, if you want to meet some," she said, "you can help me get my ship back and save my friends." The Crooked Crocodile was surely sailing farther and farther away with every passing moment. Time was of the essence, but you wouldn't know it the way Weasel paused to ponder Camilla's proposition. Finally, the stoat shook his head. She looked over the side. "Even if I wanted to help," he said, in a way that told Camilla he really did want to help. "We wouldn't be up against just the meanest, most selfish, ugliest pirate there ever was. The Croc's got a crew of mangy mongrels as mean as he is. Not to mention, we don't have any way to catch him. And even I'm not charming enough to convince these pirate-hating, meat-headed locals to lend us one." Camilla was about to point out that maybe he might have better luck if he didn't call them pirate-hating, meat-headed locals, but she stopped as she heard some splashing beneath the dock. She looked over the side and smiled. "So if we had a way to catch them," she said to Weasel, "and if I had a plan to defeat the crooked crocodile and his crew, you'd agree to help?" Weasel snorted incredulously. "If you could do all that, not only would I help you," he said, almost laughing, "I'd declare my never-ending loyalty to you and join your crew." Camilla smiled. "Deal," she said, and gave Weasel the Stoat a gentle but sudden push off the dock. Weasel squeaked a surprised squeak and fell tail over tea kettle into the sea. But before he splashed down, he landed on something smooth and gray and alive. It was a dolphin, a whole pod of them. It was the dolphins that Camilla and the Jolly Otter had saved from those fishermen. Out on the ocean, they had seen the Jolly Otter sailing away from Santo Flamingo, and when they realized that the crew were not the same pirates that had helped them, they came to the land to investigate. The dolphins had not forgotten Camilla's kindness and had come to return the favor. Camilla jumped down off the dock and onto the back of another. She placed her hand on its back. "Thank you," she whispered, to which the dolphin gave a trill, which sounded to Camilla a lot like "any time." Weasel wrinkled his nose and huffed. "All right, fine," he said, trying to find a hold on the dolphin's slippery skin. "So what's your master plan to defeat the crooked crocodile, Captain?" As the dolphin pod swam away from the port of Santo Flamingo, with Weasel the Stoat and Camilla the Otter on their backs, the captain of the Jolly Otter looked out into the open ocean and said, "I'm still working on that part."
I am a small otter, my story is sad. I once was a captain, the best crew I had. But then I was careless, and when I was caught, a villainous rival made off with the lot. If I was a blackbird, I'd whistle and sing and follow the vessel, my friends all sailing, and in the top rigging I'd there build my nest and cheer them on daily in laughter and jest. My crew are the friendliest sailors I know. We're here for each other wherever we go. So come what
for listening to The Adventures of the Jolly Otter. Written and directed by Ben McLaughlin. Narrated by Susan Lee McLaughlin. Created and artwork by Amanda Bunce. With special thanks to Kate Bunce and Corey Bunce, a Keo production.
Laughter and